Okay, so we'll do this. We will. Okay, so let's go through the book of Job. Now, what I'll do, this is what I'll do, because we are not going to read the whole of the book of Job. So what I'll do is I'll try to sum it up, but some of the chapters, I want to read the whole chapter. Okay, so let's start with the book of Job. Now, it is believed, this is just a fact that I'd like to throw in before we get started. It is believed that Job is the oldest book to be written. And I'll tell you why. The book of Job does not mention, there is no mention of the law of Moses. There is no mention of the law of Moses. Now, we know Moses wrote the book of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And in Genesis, he gives us the history from the creation of the heavens and the earth to the time going closer to when the Israelites, who will be in captivity, and now they are about to leave. And that's why we have the book of Exodus, which actually talks about when the Israelites were saved or freed from slavery, and they went into the wilderness, and then the giving of the law, where Moses received the law of God. Okay, so Genesis is the beginning history of the world, and then into and leading into Exodus from Genesis, and then so the history of the world from when it began to the time when the Israelites go into the wilderness from Egypt, and then the time they spent in the wilderness. So Numbers, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy. So by the time it's Deuteronomy, now they are going into the promised land. Okay. So when we read the book of Job, you will see no mention of these events. You will see no mention of the Israelites going into captivity. You'll hear no mention of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So it's almost like Job existed at a time. I really believe it's an assumption. So I'm just trying to tell you why it is believed that Job is the oldest book. Okay. Because people believe that if Job had lived in the times of Moses or after the time of Moses, he should have at least mentioned him, but there's no mention. So anyway. So let's go to the book of Job. Let's start with chapter 1. Here we go. So, Job chapter 1. The Bible is not opening up. What's going on? Okay, let's go again. So, Job chapter 1, verse 1. In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys, and had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all the people of the East. His sons used to hold feasts in their homes on their birthdays. and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When a period of feasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to be purified. Early in the morning, he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, perhaps my children have sinned and cast God in their hearts. This was Job's regular custom. Here is a man who fears God, who stays away from evil. This man had 10 children, 7 sons, 3 daughters. Now, whenever the sons used to have birthdays, they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. So it's almost like they never used to celebrate this. It seems like when we read it the way it is, we take it at face value. The girls' birthdays were never celebrated, but the brothers' birthdays. So whenever there's a birthday, they'll invite the 3 sisters to celebrate with them. Okay, so they'll have a birthday party. And it seems like those birthday parties were wild. I want to say they are wild because it says they invite them to eat and drink with them. Now, after a birthday party celebration, and these birthday parties were not just one day. They were not just one day. How do we know? Verse 5, when a period of feasting had run its course. So there is a period. It's not a day of celebration, a period. So we don't know how long those birthdays used to last. You know what? Let's compare. Let's compare. Christian Standard Version, Christian Standard Bible. Whenever a round of banqueting was over, okay, English Standard Version, and when the days of the feast had run their course, New King James Version. So it was when the days of feasting had run their course. New Living Translation. When these celebrations ended, sometimes after several days, man, huh? Birthday, you celebrate for days. Amplified, when the days of their feasting were over. So these birthdays used to take days. When those birthdays were over, Job would sacrifice for each child. So, child number 1, come here. Slaughter animals. Put them on the altar. Burn the animals to the Lord. Give God burnt offerings. Pray, God, if this son of mine has wronged you, we ask for forgiveness. And listen, he would make these burnt offerings thinking, not that he had that one of them cast God out loud. No. Job would say, maybe my child talked bad about God in his heart. In his heart. So it is not that the child did it, but Job just says, maybe he did it. And because of that, he would sacrifice. Meaning, and you know the way I look at it, I think Job knew out of this drinking, when people drink a lot and you're full and you're drinking, you know, and you're drunk, you could say things you're not supposed to say. But I'm telling you again, these people, he never heard that somebody said it out loud. That one he would have quickly sacrificed. But he was sacrificing because he thought maybe they cursed. So you know what? Maybe they didn't. Okay. All right. So his sons used to hold, and then verse 5, when a period of feasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to be purified. Early in the morning, he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, perhaps my children have sinned and cast God in their hearts. This was Job's regular custom. One day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Let me tell you, to some people, it is a shock. They never knew that the devil is limited. They never knew that the devil is not everywhere all the time. The devil, it is at one point, at one time. He cannot be in multiple places.
Like God.
Yeah. So he cannot meet, he cannot be in many places. He can only be at one place at a time. So look at what he says. He says, Satan answered the Lord, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. Now, so this is God talking proudly about his servant Job. And this is God asking the devil, have you considered? It's almost like it seems like God is I'm trying to be careful with the way I put it. But imagine this. Let me highlight that again. Let me highlight that. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant? So let me compare that. Christian Standard Bible. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? No one else on earth is like him. English Standard Version. And the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant? New King James Version. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered? Okay, all of them is that. Yes. New Living Translation. Then the Lord asked Satan, have you noticed my servant Job? That almost seems like Job is trying, God is trying to make Satan to look into Job's life. It's almost like God is boasting about his servant, and so he is making the devil aware of him. What I'm trying to avoid to say is almost like God is looking for trouble for Job. So he says, then the Lord said, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. Verse 9, does Job fear God for nothing? Satan replied, have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands, so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now, stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. So you see, The devil has noticed Job. The devil has noticed how Job is so blessed. The devil is telling God, Job only worships you because he is living a good life. He is well protected. And so the devil suggests to God, stretch out your hand and strike everything he has. Because according to the devil, this man is only worshiping God because he has property. And everything is going smoothly in his life. Look at verse 12. The Lord said to Satan, very well, then everything he has is in your power. You see that? This is God telling the devil, everything Job has is in your power. But on the man himself, do not lay a finger. So God has protected Job's life. He should not be struck. But everything around him is in the power of the devil. Now, I want you to see when things are in the power of the devil, what the devil can do. Again, I said this. I want you to see when things are in the power of the devil. I want you to see what. For you who's read this story, very good. For that, the person who doesn't know about this story, watch this. Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Verse 13. One day, when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabeans attacked and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. So Job all of a sudden has lost his oxen, has lost his donkeys, and has lost all the servants who are taking care of those animals minus one. Only the one who brought Job the bad news is the one who escaped. Okay, verse 16. While he was still speaking. So this servant is not done talking. And so when they came, while he's still talking, another messenger came and said, the fire of God fell from heavens. Did you hear what he called it? The fire of God. But I want you to remember who has the power against Job's properties. It's the devil. But he says, the fire of God fell from heavens and burnt up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who escaped to tell you. So while the sheep and the servants were in an area, fire came down. Verse 17. While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, the Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties. So there were 3 groups of raiding. One group, another, and another. So the Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on your camels and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. So these Chaldeans came and took all the camels and killed all the servants, but one was left to come and tell them. Do you know, I don't think it is any coincidence that every time there is one person left to go give the bad news to Job. Okay. While he was still speaking, verse 18, while he was still speaking, yet another messenger came. So this is the 4th one, and said, your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the four corners of the house. It collapsed on them and they are dead. And I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. Can you imagine that? Every person coming here to tell Job says, I am the only one left. I am the only one left. I am the only one left. This is no coincidence. Verse 20. At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, did you hear what he did? He fell to the ground in worship. I want you to ask yourself a question. When you wake up in the morning and you find your car had a flat, do you worship God? When you receive stories or you are told about a bill that you're supposed to pay that you didn't know about, and now it has even accumulated interest, do you worship God? When you hear bad news, do you worship God? Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. Now, there are so many people who have a problem with Job's statement here. They say, no, he's wrong. It's not the Lord who took these things. It was the devil. Oh, this, oh, that. Listen, the important thing here we need to understand is that Job gave praise and worshipped God. That is the takeaway here. Job praised God. He didn't complain. Listen, this man just lost 10 children in one day. He has lost all his wealth, most of his wealth, majority of all his livestock is gone, and the servants are dead. Verse 22, listen, in all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. Listen, whenever you are going through a bad time, do not charge God with wrongdoing. Don't complain, God, why did you let this happen to me? No, this is a very good lesson to learn from Job. When things are going bad, if the best thing you would do, the best lesson to learn from Job, worship God. Father, I have this pain. Lord, I have this loss, but I worship you. I thank you for your goodness. You have good things in store for me. You know everything. I might not understand it, but I praise you. Okay. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. On another day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present, and Satan also came with them to present himself before him. Can you imagine that? I want you to first to understand. The devil comes before the Lord, present himself. That should show you how subject the devil is to God. He comes to present himself. Here I am. Here I am. Okay. And listen, he is doing the same thing the angels are coming to do. So God is seated on his throne, the angels come and present themselves. Here I am. Here I am. Here I am. And the devil also comes to present himself. We need to understand we have a mighty, powerful God. Okay. On another day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before him. And the Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Let me show you again how the devil is limited. See, God is asking him, "Where have you come from?" You know, I want you to understand something. God is everywhere. So even when God asks the devil, "Where have you come from?" God knows where the devil has come from because God was there. God is here where the devil is presenting himself before the Lord. God is everywhere. You know, that sometimes is too much for your brain to wrap itself around this thing, this information. God is everywhere. God is where you are seated right now, listening. God is where I am right now. God is everywhere. David says, King David, he says, "If I make my bed in hell, you are there." God is even in hell. There is no place God is not. So the question would be then, why then is he asking the devil? He knows where he's from. Why is he asking him? Listen, the only way we would understand God is for God, and this is the term I'll use, or this is the word I'll use, it is for God to lower himself. And when I say lower himself, it's not that he's getting off the throne, it's not that, no. It's like, let me give you an example. When you're talking to a child, a child that is learning to talk, okay, when when you're teaching a child that does not know how to talk, imagine talking to a child that has not even learned how to talk, and you say something like, "Hey, listen, I want to tell you what I'm about to do. I'm going to leave the house. I want to go to the shop, get some groceries, and then I'll get back here and I'll take you so we go to play uh, uh, at your favorite place where you like to go play." You're talking to a child that does not even know how to talk. The child doesn't know how to talk. How will he even understand what you're saying? So what do you do as a parent, as a grown-up who is talking to a child? You have to lower yourself and talk like a child. Dada, va. So, and you're making sounds. You get to a point where you can tell one word, and the child understands because you're pointing at something, saying that word, until one time when you say that word, that the child will turn and look at the thing you're mentioning. Why? Because the child is now learning. This is what you're telling the child. God created humans for himself. He created man for himself. He created woman for the man. God is interacting with humans. God is all knowing, all wise, omnipresent, omniscient, you know all those words. Omnipresent. He is present every place. omniscience, omniscience, omniscience. He knows everything. Omnipotent. He can do everything. There is nothing that is impossible to him. We human beings are limited. We human beings are at one place at one time. How do you understand such a being? He has to break things down for you. So when we see that he is asking the devil these things, then we understand some things about God. So we are actually getting to know God through his word. And he has made it simple for us so that we understand him. So when God asks, okay, so sorry, so so and then listen, this word that we are reading is written for us, human beings. You see, so these words are written for us. And so God wants us to see. Because remember, what we are reading here, these things are done in the spirit world. These are not things you can see with your physical eye. How do you communicate something that is invisible to creatures who cannot see in that realm? How do you communicate something that is not seen to people who are limited? We can't see in that realm. Like only God can allow us to see in that realm whenever he does. But otherwise, we are in this realm of the physical. Okay. So understand that point. So here we go again. So chapter 2. On another day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before him. And the Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil, and still maintains his integrity, though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason." Did you hear the words of God to Satan? God is telling Satan that you are the one who made me to do this against this man, and yet he is not to blame. Do you know sometimes when you hear something like that, some people want to be upset at God? God, why would you do that? Why would you disturb my peace? Listen, God help us to gain wisdom. There is a scripture in this book of Job. I think it's Job 34, verse 14. In fact, let me just read it because I want to make a statement. Listen to Job. I think it's 34. Job 34, verse 14. Yes, it is. Listen to what it says. If it were his intention and he withdrew his spirit and breath, all humanity would perish together and mankind would return to the dust. I want to highlight that and compare. Listen to Christian Standard Bible. If he put his mind to it and withdrew the spirit and breath he gave, every living thing would perish together, and mankind would return to the dust. This is very serious. Let me read another one. English Standard Version. If he should set his heart to it and gather to himself his spirit and his breath, all flesh would perish together, and man would return to dust. New Living Translation. If God were to take back his spirit and withdraw his breath, all life would cease, and humanity okay. New Living Translation. If God were to take back his spirit and withdraw his breath, all life would cease, and humanity would turn again to dust. Amplified. If God should determine to do so, if he should gather to himself, this is, withdraw from man his life-giving spirit and his breath, all flesh would perish together, and man would return to dust. So imagine that. If God were to say, you know what, today I want my spirit back from all creatures, all creation would fall down dead. All animals, all human beings, everything would fall dead. If God, you see, it says, if he decided, you know what, today I don't want, let me take back my breath, everyone would fall dead. God is powerful. God, do you know God is so aware of all the evil that is taking place on earth right now? And yet the Bible still says that his desire is that everybody be saved. Now, so look, if God decided, he can kill all the bad people and let only the good ones live. He is aware. Look, God can decide to take away the devil right now. He can do it. He can take away every evil. He can. So why is he not doing it? Why doesn't he just get rid of everything bad and leave everything good? God is wise, is the wisest, he's all-knowing, and let us continue in his word, and we will understand his way of thinking, and everything will make sense. So just know, just be reminded that God is aware of everything that is taking place on earth. And so that should encourage you. That should encourage you, because then you can go to him and make your plea. You can tell him, God, you know what is going on. Do you know the crazy thing is that, or the strange thing is that God still wants you to tell him your thoughts. Tell him what you want. Tell him what you feel. God loves it. God loves it. So, yeah. And Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil, and he still maintains his integrity, though you incited me against him to ruin him without reason. Skin for skin, Satan replied. A man will give all he has for his own life. But now stretch out your hand and strike and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face. Do you see what the devil is telling God? The devil is telling God, I want to highlight this one. I want to hear how they put it in different version. Let's look at New Living Translation. Satan replied to the Lord, skin for skin. A man will give up everything he has to save his life, but reach out and take away his health, and he will surely curse you to your face. So, this saying is from the devil, skin for skin. So the devil is like, a man will do anything to make sure that his skin is kept. And so when we say skin, you know, skin covers your whole body. Your skin covers your whole body. So the devil is saying, a man will do anything to protect himself from dying. A man will do whatever it takes. So he's inciting inciting God and saying, take away his health, make him miserable, affect his body and bones, his body, affect him, inflict pain, give him diseases, and you'll see what he'll do. He'll curse you to your face. So this is the devil assuring God of what will happen. Verse 6, the Lord said to Satan, very well then, he is in your hands, but you must spare his life. Can you imagine that? When the devil was given power over Job's property, look at what he did. Killed everything. Now, the devil has been given power over Job's health. The only thing the devil was not given power over is his life. So meaning, if God had not protected that part, the devil would have killed Job. What are your thoughts about that? I want you to think about that. What do you think about God in this situation? Do you feel upset? Do you feel confused? Do you feel perplexed? What do you think about God? God is allowing these things to come to this person. You know, when you think that way, you're not thinking the bigger picture. God wants us to go and live with him in eternity. This short moment that we are passing on earth is too short. It is not even the number of years we live on earth is not even a drop in the ocean. It is not. A drop in the ocean is much bigger compared. A drop in the ocean, I want you to get this comparison. A drop in the ocean is much bigger than when you compare this life we have to eternity. If you took a drop of water and dropped it in the ocean, and look at how an ocean is big. A drop in the ocean is bigger than comparing our life, our 120 years, to eternity. Eternity has no end. An ocean has an end. An ocean has boundaries. So when you drop a drop of water, that ocean you dropped it in has boundaries. Eternity has no boundaries. Eternity has no end. Eternity is forever and ever and ever. So, if you are born and you lived a miserable life all your life, but you ended up in eternity and you live with God forever, that is nothing. In the book of Psalms, the psalmist, I believe it's David who says, he says, the life of a man, the life of a human being is a vapor. It is vapor. Have you ever taken hot tea? Hot tea. When you take hot tea from the pot, it is very, 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 very hot and is sitting in the cup. You'll see smoke rising from the cup and lifting from the cup. The moment that vapor lifts, it won't go too far, it will dissipate, it will disappear. The psalmist says, the life of man is a vapor. Soon as it rises, it's gone. We are on this earth for a very short time. So you can get very emotional, feeling very upset that God let Job go through this thing. But if you saw the amount of time Job is going to go through this thing is a vapor compared to where you're going to spend eternity. Would you rather go through a difficult time for a short time and enjoy the rest of your life? Or would you rather go through a lot of fun right now and then for eternity suffer? Okay, verse 7. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it as he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, are you still maintaining your integrity? God and die. So now, imagine the wife has her own health, but the wife is seeing the things that are happening to Job. The wife knows how Job has been a man of integrity when it comes to matters concerning God. The wife has seen the kind of loss they have incurred. The wife is now seeing how the husband is afflicted with sores. Now it has gotten to her. Meanwhile, she's healthy, she's okay. But now look at what she says. Are you still maintaining your integrity? So the wife has taken offense against God. She says, curse God and die. He replied, you are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? So Job rebukes the wife. In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. When Job's three friends, Eliphaz, the Temanite, Bildad, the Shuhite, and Zophar, the Naamathite, heard about all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him to comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep aloud and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. Okay. These 3 friends of Job have come. They've heard about Job's suffering. They've gotten to where Job is. They could hardly recognize him when they saw him. And when they tore their robes, put ashes on themselves, and they sat next to Job for 7 days and 7 nights, speechless. You know, it is a good thing to picture these things in your mind. Look at people. We go to see people in hospital, and we have multiplication of words. How are you doing? How have you been okay? So what happened? This and that. These people, they said nothing for 7 days and 7 nights. Now, I don't want to read chapter 3, and I'll tell you why. But I'll start, and then I'll tell you why I'll skip all these chapters. I'll tell you why. Chapter 3. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. He said, "May the day of my birth perish, and the night that said, a boy is conceived, that day may it turn to darkness. May God above not care about that day. May light not shine on it. May gloom and utter darkness claim it once more." So, what Job does is he starts verbalizing what he feels, what he's thinking. He starts verbalizing it. He even hates the day that he was born. And he gets into a lot, it talks a lot about what is in his mind. Now, the friends, and so that's why I'll skip all this. When he starts talking and the friends also start verbalizing what they're thinking, they start, the friends tell Job, "You must have done something wrong. There's no way these things happened to you, because God will not just let bad things happen to a person without a reason." Job, on the other hand, would say, "I have been a good person. I have not done anything. And he would continue defending himself. And it even got to a place where Job and his friends are exchanging, and the kind of exchange is it's like it generated bitterness, anger, judgment, all these vices, negatives from this conversation, from the exchange. So I want us to go to chapter 32 and see what happens. Because as Job and his 3 friends are talking, they are exchanging words. All this is what happens from chapter 3 up to chapter 32. Now, I want us to look at the end of chapter 31 and see what happens. So let's see. So, chapter 31. Okay. Towards the end. So, because they kept saying, "Oh, you did this, you must have done something wrong, this and that and that," and Job gets to a point, he says, "Okay, then let him come and tell me what my wrong was. I can tell him how I've been a good person. I've done this, I've done that. So listen to this. Let me start from verse 37, going towards the end of chapter 31. So listen to it. He says, I would give him an account of my every step. I would present it to him as to a ruler. So Job would show God, look at what I did. This is what I did here. This is that I did there. This. So he'll go to him, and then he says, if my hand cries out against me, and all its furrows are wet with tears, if I have devoured its yield without payment or broken the spirit of its tenants, then let briars come up instead of wheat, and stinkweed instead of barley. So if land, if he's talking about if I have done anything against anyone, even if I did anything against the soil. So you see that he's even talking about the soil, the soil that you step on. If I have wronged anyone or anything, or even the soil and the people who work on that soil, let it cry against me. And then look at what he says there. The words of Job are ended. So you see, that's verse 31, chapter 31. Now listen to chapter 32. So see, we skipped from chapter 1 and 2. We skipped to chapter 32. So listen to what it says. So these three men stopped answering Job. Because remember those three friends. So these three men stopped answering Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. I want you to understand that. Because now Job started saying the things that he has done. I have been good. I have done no bad to anyone. This, that, this, all that conversation, all the things that he said. It says, so these three men stopped answering Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. But Elihu, now, when we read at the beginning, Elihu was never mentioned. So we want to find out, who is this Elihu? But Elihu, the son of Barakel, the Buzite, of the family of Ram, became very angry with Job for justifying himself rather than God. He was also angry with the three friends because they had found no way to refute Job, and yet they had condemned him. So there's a man called Elihu. He became angry. This man, there was no mention of him until this point, is when we are learning about him. So he'll introduce himself, and I want us to listen to who he is. So he's angry at Job because he's justifying himself instead of justifying God. Where is he? Where is God? Let him come and tell me what wrong I did. I have been good. I have been that. So this thing upset Elihu because Job was now justifying himself. And then he was also upset at the three friends of Job because they kept condemning him. But then they didn't find out what was the reason they were condemning him for. They didn't have a good reason. They didn't have a valid reason. So this Elihu got upset. Verse 4. Now, Elihu had waited before speaking to Job because they were older than he. So this is one of the reasons why Elihu was quiet. He was younger than the three friends of Job and Job. He was a young person. Verse 5. But when he saw that the three men had nothing more to say, his anger was aroused. So Elihu, the son of Barakel the Buzite, said, I am young in years, and you are old. That is why I was fearful, not daring to tell you what I know. I thought age should speak. Advanced years should teach wisdom. That is what, when Elihu was listening to these four men talking, he was telling himself, hey, you keep quiet. Let the older people talk. Let the people who are wise talk. So he was expecting these people to sort things out. He was expecting these people, Job and his three friends, he was expecting out of their discussion, there would be wisdom or a conclusion or a way forward or understanding of what is happening. So, some resolve would come out of their exchange. That is why he kept quiet, because he was hoping that good would come out of their conversation. So he says, I thought age should speak, advanced years should teach wisdom, but it is the spirit in a person, the breath of the Almighty, that gives them understanding. So it is not you who is sharp. It is the breath of God that gives a man wisdom and gives a man understanding. Verse 9, it is not only the old who are wise, not only the aged who understand what is right. Therefore, I say, listen to me. I too will tell you what I know. I waited while you spoke. I listened to your reasoning while you were searching for words. I gave you my full attention, but not one of you has proved Job wrong. So he's talking to the three of them. He says, you people, I've listened to you. I was quiet. As you were searching for words, I kept listening, but none of you has refuted Job. None of you has answered his argument. Do not say, verse 13, he's telling these three people, do not say, we have found wisdom. Let God, not man, refute him. So he's telling them, let God refute him. Don't let man. But Job, this verse 14, but Job has not marshaled his words against me. So this is the young man still saying, Job has spoken some very tough words. He didn't talk against me. And he says, and I will not answer him with your arguments. So you see, now he's addressing first the three people. He's telling them, you people, I thought the old people are the ones who are supposed to talk. I listened to you while you were talking. He says, now I realize that it is not the age, it's not age that gives wisdom. It is the breath of God in a man. And so he says, now, so listen to me because I have something to say. This man has realized it doesn't mean that it's when you're old that you're wise. And then he says, Job didn't talk harshly against me. So me, I won't answer him. I won't answer his arguments because he wasn't complaining about me. And then now look at what he says. It's like he says a little poem. Verse 15, they are dismayed and they have no more to say. Words have failed them. Must I wait now that they are silent, now that they stand there with no reply? I too will have my say. I too will tell what I know. For I am full of words, and the spirit within me compels me. Inside, I am like bottled up wine, like new wineskin ready to burst. I must speak and find relief. I must open my lips and reply. I will show no partiality, nor will I flatter anyone. For if I was skilled in flattery, my maker would soon take me away. So, in short, this man is saying, I want to speak. I have so many words I want to tell you people, and I am not here to make anybody feel good, because if I try to do that, God will take me away. So I'm not coming here to make anybody feel good about himself. I want to tell you the right, true wisdom that is in me. I want to give you my counsel too. This guy is young, but now he wants to speak some powerful words. Let me tell you, in this book of Job, from this verse 32 going on is very, very Powerful. I love to go through these words. Why? And I'll show you why. Let's go to the next chapter. So chapter 33. But now, Job, listen to my words. So now, this Elihu has first of all dealt with the three. He told them, you people, you couldn't refute this man. This man spoke very harshly, not against me. But now I want to answer him. But you people are quiet because now you don't have any more words. And you don't even know how to refute him. So now I will talk to him. So he turns to Job in chapter 33. But now, Job, listen to my words. Pay attention to everything I say. This is a young man talking to the elderly. He's now angered. His temper is high because he feels these people have not done justice in their talks. But now, Job, listen to me. Listen to my words. Pay attention to everything I say. I am about to open my mouth. My words are on the tip of my tongue. My words come from an upright heart. My lips sincerely speak what I know. The Spirit of God has made me. The breath of the Almighty gives me life. Answer me then, if you can. Stand up and argue your case before me. Man, this young man is upset. This young man is ready to talk. I am the same as you in God's sight. I love this scripture. I want to read that again. I am the same as you in God's sight. Elihu is telling Job, I will talk to you, you answer me back. I am like you in the eyes of God. Human beings, we have a problem. When you see a rich man and a poor man, you say, this man is better than that. No. In the eyes of God, we are the same. And that's what Elihu is telling Job. I am like you in the eyes of God. Listen to this. I too, I am a piece of clay. Do you know one time I was reading this scripture and it hit me that Jesus became like us. He became clay like us. He came down to reason with us, to talk to us. Elihu here is a form of it. It is like a foreshadowing of Christ. Elihu says, I am like you. I am made of clay. When Jesus came, he was made of clay, and yet he's the one who created the world. No wonder people could spit on him. Can you try to think about this? A president comes to your place, and then you spit on him and you slap him. What kind of thing do you think will happen to you? When a president comes. Now, increase that to a king of a nation or nations comes by you and you spit on him and take that slap. What do you think the gods will do to you? Jesus came, the creator of the world, who even created the angels. And people are slapping him, spitting on him, and punching him. Why? He was made of clay. Okay. Answer me then, verse 5. Answer me then if you can. Stand up and argue your case before me. I am the same as you. I am the same as you in God's sight. I too am a piece of clay. No fear of me should alarm you. And that's why people are not afraid of Jesus. The demons were afraid of Jesus. People would see Jesus, he's a regular person. So he says, no fear of me should alarm you. nor should my hand be heavy on you. But you have said in my hearing, I heard this very word. So he's telling him, I've heard you say this. I've heard you. What did Job say? Verse 9. I am pure. I have done no wrong. I am clean and free from sin. Yet God has found fault with me. He considered me his enemy. He fastens my feet in shackles. He keeps close watch on all my paths. But I tell you this, you are not right. I tell you, in this, you're not right. So, in other words, Job was complaining. He says, God is finding fault in me. I didn't do anything wrong, and this and that and that. And this young man tells him, but I tell you, in this, you are not right. For God is greater than any mortal. Let me tell you, do you see anytime you feel like you want to complain against God, you should listen to what this advice here. Because this person, let me go to verse 9 again. Listen to verse 8. But you have said this in my hearing. So Elihu is telling Job, I've heard you say, I've heard you with my own ears. I heard you say this. You said this. I am pure. I have done no wrong. So this is Job talking. That's what he's saying. I am pure. I have done no wrong. I am clean and free from sin. Yet God has found fault with me. He considers me his enemy. He fastens my feet in shackles. He keeps close watch on all my paths. Then Elihu tells him, verse 12, but I tell you, in this, in you talking like that, you are not right. For God is greater than any mortal. Why do you complain to him that he responds to no one's words? Do you hear that? He's asking Job, why do you say that God does not respond to anybody's words? Why did Job say that? Because he was waiting for God to tell him what his mistake was, and it seems like God was not talking. So it's like he was complaining that God is quiet about it, about things. Is that what you feel? I'm talking to you who's listening. Is that what you feel about God? Do you feel God is quiet even when you're praying to him? Do you feel like God is far from you? Do you feel like God does not care what you go through? Those are some very important questions to ask yourself. Why do you complain to him that he responds to no one's words? For God does speak. Listen to this again. Verse 14. For God does speak. Now one way, now another, though no one perceives it. This is a very powerful thing that has been spoken here. Elihu is telling Job, you're complaining that God never listens to anyone. Elihu is saying, God does speak. Now one way, now another, but no one understands it. God has different ways of talking to us, but people don't understand it. Now, I'm not saying everybody doesn't understand it. I'm just going by what he has said here. Verse 14, for God does speak, now one way, now another, though no one perceives it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on people as they slumber in their beds, he may speak in their ears and terrify them with warnings, to turn them from wrongdoing and keep them from pride. Let me tell you, right here it says, when people sleep, God speaks to them. through dreams. It even says here that he can speak in somebody's ears and terrify people with warning. So some of the nightmares that you've had is actually God showing you, terrifying you, so that you may escape a trap. Look at what he says. He may speak in their ears and terrify them with warnings. So a warning that is, how to say terrific, is like that would terrify you. You know what I'm thinking? Well, let's look at let's learn some English here. Let's look at the look at this. Terrific. Of great size, amount, intensity. There was a terrific bang. A terrific emblem of death. His body presented, causing terror. Oh, causing terror. I don't think we've been using that word properly in some cases. How was the food? Oh, terrific. The food caused terror. I don't think we've been using that word the right way. So, God gives you a terrific dream. Yes. So, do you know? Hey, this is serious. We've not been using this word right. Look, terrific, the meaning of great size, amount, or intensity. But you know what? Let me see. No, I guess it's also right. How was the I think it's also right, because when you look at similar words, massive, gigantic, colossal, mighty, great, very big, sizable, considerable, extreme, intense. Well, I guess we still use it right. I guess it can go both ways. Whooping, humongous, well, formidable, considerable, extreme, great. So okay, so the food was terrific. Yeah, so I guess we're right. And so it can go both ways. So you can have a terrific dream, meaning uh, uh, a scary dream, causing terror. His body presented a terrific. Yeah, so it goes both ways. It can, I guess we're learning. So it can be causing terror and it can also be amazing. Okay, so he may speak in the ears and terrify them with warnings to turn them from wrongdoing and keep them from pride, to preserve them from the pit. So God can allow these things. He is coming to talk to you. It can cause terror, but still the main thing why he's doing that is to warn you so that you may not fall into danger. Okay. Their lives from perishing by the sword. So he'll even warn you so that you don't die carelessly. Okay. Or someone may be chastised in a bed of pain. So God can even be talking to somebody like that through pain, through being sick. When you're sick in bed, that could be a way of God talking, slowing you down and talking to you. So, or someone may be chastised in a bed of pain with constant distress in their bones. So some of the sickness. Now, I have to make this statement here. Listen, we are dealing with the Old Testament. That's why I like to say we need to be very careful with the way we read our Bible. We are reading a story from the Old Testament. And here we hear how God would talk to you. This here is showing the different avenues, different ways God could speak to us. Now, I want to finish this chapter. Then I think I'll show you one chapter in the New Testament, and then I'll make some statements. Okay. So, or someone may be chastened on a bed of pain with constant distress in their bones, so that their body finds food repulsive. So you get to a point you have no appetite. You don't even want to eat food. And their soul loathes the choicest meal. So even the best of meals, you don't want to eat it. Their flesh wastes away to nothing. And their bones, once hidden, now stick out. That person has lost weight until you can count the bones. You can count the ribs. They draw near to the pit, so they draw near to death, and their life and their life to the messengers of death. Yet if there is an angel at their side, a messenger, 1 out of 1,000, sent to tell them how to be upright, and he is gracious to that person and God and says to God, spare them from going down to the pit. So you see here, so it's saying that a man could be sick in bed and get to a point where he is almost dying. And then an angel is found who comes and defends this person. First, he tells the person, this is what you need to do so that you live. And then that angel goes and pleads with God and says, please spare this person's life. You see that? The angel pleads for your life. That is not in the New Testament. Here we are reading that an angel would almost intercede for you, beg for mercy that you may not die. This is not in the New Testament. That is why I keep saying we need to be very careful. So, yet if there is an angel at their side, a messenger, 1 out of 1,000, spent to tell them how to be upright, and he is gracious to that person and says to God. So this angel is saying to God, spare them from going down to the pit. I have found a ransom for them. So the angel has found a ransom. Let their flesh be renewed like a child's. So this is the angel pleading for a sick person. Let them restored as in the days of their youth. Then that person can pray to God and find favor with him. They will see God's face and shout for joy. He will restore them to their full well-being, and they will go to others and say, I have sinned, I have perverted what is right, but I did not get what I deserved. God has delivered me from going down to the pit, and I shall live to enjoy the light of life. God does all these things to a person twice, even 3 times. So these things happen to people. You get sick, you almost die, you survive, you keep on going, you go start messing in life again, you get sick, you are bedridden, and these things happen to people twice, 3 times to turn them back from the pit, that the light of life may shine on them. Pay attention, Job, and listen to me. Be silent, and I will speak. If you have anything to say, answer me. Speak up, for I want to vindicate you. But if not, then listen to me. Be silent, and I will teach you wisdom. This young man, very, 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 very wise. Now, what I'm thinking to do is, I want to stop here. I will stop here. And